Welcome back to another mix tutorial. This is ACN at ACN Studios. We're completing some of the other pieces of the drum kit from the previous videos we didn't look into yet, and we want to talk about mixing toms today. We're still back in that same song with that medley that we went through in the last video. I'm going to show you how the toms was mixed on this song a specific way. Remember, whenever I'm mixing, or maybe when you're mixing, you usually have a certain preference for every song. Like I said last time, I don't save any settings, I don't have any presets on how I mix individual tracks. I just go along with it. Every tom is hit different, every kick, every guitar, every keyboard. It's played different. You receive the audio back different, and you have to mix it different. Some of the moves are the same, but you might have to tweak here and there. So let's look into these toms real quick. Let's listen to them with all the effects, even with the reverb on. Let's take a listen real quick. Let's hear that one more time. You know what? Let's hear it one more time. I personally think that those toms sound great. Let's look underneath the hood and see what's going on with them. I'm going to turn off the reverb real quick, and I'm gonna turn off some of these plugins that we have and see what are we doing here. So this is the toms. This is tom 1 and 2 without EQ. Yikes. Let's hear it one more time. And let's see what the process was done. I'm using the virtual mix rack here for the main EQ process. Let's see what happened here. I'm going to pull up the second tom. Now this is a rack tom and a floor tom. Let's pull up the other mix rack and see what's going on. We're going to look at them and see what the deal is over here, how we got this done. There's a VCC channel that's giving us like an analog style emulation, which it's always on 4K for me because I like the sound of a SSL. And in the highs, I am boosting at over 11 dB of some 8K. I'll put that back where that was. I'm boosting in the high mids some 259, which we'll just call it about 2.5K. And I'm boosting at a little over 40, a little bit over 4 dB of some high mids, and we're not doing nothing here. I'm completely shoving out or carving out some of the 600. I think that moved. Put that back where it was. Some of the 650, I should say. And I'm doing a little bit of small shine with the Neve. Now this is an SSL style. This is a Neve style EQ. Doing very little bit here, just a little over 1 dB of some shine, which this is on a whole different setting. It doesn't give you the option. I think this is set to a 10 or 12K setting, and I'm doing nothing in the high mids, nothing in the low mids. Usually when I'm messing with toms, I usually use the virtual mix rack for toms because I get to use two different style EQs, and I'm usually using over here the Neve, which this is copied off of a Neve 1081, because if it was a 1073, it would only have highs, mids, and lows. This one has a low mid, and I usually use this one to do carving and boosting, but I'm using this one for now. In the floor tom, now that was the rack tom. In the floor tom, I am boosting 11 dB, doing the same thing in the 8K, nothing in the high mids, carving out some minus 5 dB in the 650s again. I'm carving out because this is the floor tom. Needs a little bit more carving, a little bit more work sometimes, especially the way it sounds. Let's listen again. So that floor tom needed a little bit of work, which I think it sounds good the way it was, but they need some tuning. So I did a little bit more carving here at about just a little over 3 dB, minus 3D, carving out some 172. That's where the frequency was. Remember, like I've been saying, I don't think there's bad frequencies. Just some frequencies don't sound good in certain instruments and vocals. and I was boosting in the SSL at over 4 dB, uh, of some 230. We'll call it 238 of of what's that called, hertz, and doing some 80. I'm not doing any high pass filtering here, and I don't have the compressor on. Revival's not doing anything, and we have the British 4K in the console emulation, and this is what it sounds like when they're turned back on, both of them, to hear what the EQ sounds like. Here it is. One more time. Let's bypass them real quick. This is without the EQ on the toms, and this is with them on. Let's hear it again. Sounds great, actually. Here's a question people ask me: what software are you using? Because the way it was mixed, the way it sounds, is that Superior drum? Is that Addictive Drums? Whatever software. My drum kit is live. Most of my drum kits are live, and pretty much all my songs. And if you notice at the end, there's like a thump there. That's because I done the tom trick when you're cutting out pretty much, because you got so many mics playing, so many mics on the kit playing at one time, that we cut out all the access, and there's a certain high pass filtering we do that we bake in when we're using Audio Suite and Pro Tools, that we bake in that one spot that we take out the cymbal bleed. So there's no cymbal bleed. Watch this. Right there. All you hear is a little bit of the kick, and in the context of the song, you don't hear none of that. So, did I have this on over here? Nope, it's on, but the compressor is not doing nothing. So, what else is underneath the hood here? We have CLA drums on both, and I'm boosting some 7 dB of the byte, which is probably going to be in the 6 or 700K, and in the lows not doing nothing. And I think I boosted, like right here is the line for 0, and I think I brought it up a little bit for bolt on a Hall effect, but I don't think it's even doing nothing. Right now it's bypassing. It's very rare I use the CLA drums for toms. I usually use it for something else. This plugin, if you're watching this and you own this plugin or any of the CLA signature plugins, I use this more as like a spice. This is more of like a seasoning that you add. I don't personally use it without doing the rest of the work with regular EQs. You can. Chris Lord Alge, who is the Lord of the Mix, there's probably a lot of great mixing engineers that are amazing and famous for doing what they do, and they look up to him. He is probably most likely, and I believe he's the best, and this is his signature plugin. But I'm not using it alone. I slapped it on there to give it some bite, to give it some season, and it's kind of like a little salt and pepper to the toms. Don't usually use it all the time. I just thought it sounded good, was just having some fun messing with some plugins. So, you might have a lot of plugins in your drawer. Use them. See what's up. Don't be religious with your plugins. Try it out. You might find something new that you never knew before. And here is with that on. And we're going to put the reverbs back on, which is the short reverb. I'm not going to put the Hall on. Let's hear that one more time. Why not? Let's give it another shot. And that's how I mix the toms for this song. It's kind of my go-to way to mix toms. Whether if we have 2 or 18, I don't know who plays with 18 toms, but if you did, we kind of have a certain setting. I don't mix all the toms the same. Well, copy and paste the setting, because remember, one's tuned a little bit higher pitch. Definitely the floor tom is the lowest one. So have fun with that. Carve out the frequencies that you think don't need to be there. And like I was saying earlier, people always ask me, how'd you get it to sound like that? What does it sound like? They sound fake. They sound digital. Well, they're just processed. they're they're just well processed sometimes, and sometimes I leave them open. I don't trim them that way all the time. Sometimes you want that more jazz sound, you want that more tight sound, you want an open sound. It's up to you. And remember, don't be religious when you're mixing any piece of the drums or any guitar just because that's your way of mixing. Mix in the context of the song, and of course according to the artist, the way that he sing it, the way he sang it, the style of the song, the vibe of the song is different. So don't be religious on how you carve, how you EQ. Try something different, give it a different sound. If you have a certain signature sound, it's always going to be there, but try new things, try new plugins, especially all these new plugins that came out. I personally like using, the stuff that's popular, which is like SSLs, because it's a real console that exists. Uh, in the virtual mix rack, you have pretty much all the 500 series stuff. Let's open that up. You have all the 500 series stuff, like EQs and compressors and console designs, and a lot of great preamps here, which are right here, and they sound amazing. They sound amazing, and I recommend them. You can purchase them one time or pay a monthly payment. That's your preference. So that's how we mix the toms. That's how we get them to sound like that. If you like what just happened, you like what you heard, subscribe, like the video, tell someone if you know someone that's dealing with an issue and can't get the toms to sound processed the way they should be. Send them this video. If you liked it, someone else might like it. You might teach someone a thing or two. Maybe this taught you something. So there you go. That's how we mix the toms. ACN Studios. Thank you so much for stopping by. God bless.